Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. Good morning, Mr. Benny Mathers.
Good morning. It's spring.
Aha! I was waiting for that. Woohoo!
Okay.
Woohoo!
I know, right? Even our guest was like, "Oh boy, what is that? What have I got myself into right now?"
Let's spring a little further.
I know, right?
Yeah, I'm done. Let's go. Let's jump. Yeah, we're springing into spring.
Mm-hmm.
Before the show, I was saying I think I lost my springer. There's a spring.
There's not much spring to your step, then?
Not much.
Well, we're gonna change that.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm ready.
Any
If I lighten up or lessen some things, maybe. Yeah.
Any springtime plans?
Oh gosh, I just came back from a holiday. I was gone for goodness, almost 10 days.
Lucky.
And I know, trying to get back into I know, exactly. So I feel kind of like a little disoriented and also ready to jump in. You know how when you're gone and you kind of catch your breath, and then I came home and I went, wow, I have things that I've got to catch up on like that. Yeah. So I don't really have anything for a while. Later in the year, I'm taking people to Egypt, but that's later in the year. What about you?
Well, today's kind of a quieter day, but I think I might stop off and get some flowers for the front porch because that kind of brings the spring back into the feel and the love and the passion for everyone wanting to be more outdoors now because we've been stuck inside. So I think that's going to be my plan for today.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, you inspired me. I think I got to go get flowers for the porch too. Yeah. Brighten it up a little bit. That's
we have kind of like a rock bouquet going on right now in our existing planter because of last year's stuff is no longer there. So my girlfriend had book club a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, we need to do something because it looks a little gross. So I yanked out all the old stuff, and the kids and I a few years ago we painted rocks with like our faces and stuff on it. So I put them all and arranged them into the little planter, so it was like a rock garden. So
I love this.
I want to move out of that and be a little more real than just rocks.
Yeah. But I love this idea of painting your faces on the rocks and stuff like that. That's really cute. It was
an attempt. It wasn't that I'm a terrible artist, but I'll send you a photograph when I get home.
Oh, please do. Yeah. The rock family. I like it.
Kind of.
I like it.
Pretty much.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking earlier about, little things that people do for the spring equinox, right? Like today is the spring equinox, everybody. Happy spring. It really is here. And, a lot of things are getting close to nature, doing things, like planting seeds or, getting out, hugging a tree. But I think painting a rock with your face, I think that could also be part of it.
I usually find them too. I take walks in the afternoon while I'm waiting for my boys to get out of school. And so I kind of choose different areas and parks and, just whatever, and like walk the tree lines. And there's a place over here in Newcastle by where the boys go to middle school. And there's a trail and someone has painted rocks along the trail. They've come and go because I think people either, put them in some places and they write little positive sayings on them like, "You're the best thing I've ever seen today," and so things like that, and like sunshines and rainbows and stuff, like little unlocks. So you have to kind of like find them. It's kind of like not geos. Was it geo? Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's you place clues around and you have to find
a scavenger.
Yeah, kind of, but it's like a geo hunting or something like that. I'll have to look it up. Anyways, it's kind of similar to that. But anyways.
I love that idea. A couple of years back, I take a walk every morning, and a couple of years back, I was finding random rocks here and there that said things like, "You're the best." They'd just be like leaning up against a pole next to the sidewalk or something. And then I'd come by later and they'd be gone. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. People might be picking them up and taking them home or something.
Yeah, or they're putting them somewhere else so other people can find them too. And it's geocaching, I think is the word I was looking for.
Geocaching.
See, I finally found it. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I love it.
All right.
I love it a lot. So anyway, I hope everybody's going to do something fun for spring and maybe get out your maybe more colorful clothes. Who knows, right?
Hey, what are you saying? I'm not colorful enough?
You're colorful.
My personality pushes through the dark.
You don't need anything. I was just talking for, maybe there's a random person out there that's feeling like they need to, color up today.
Brighten
Who
up.
knows? Yeah, brighten up.
There we go.
Brighten up a little bit, And I say that with all the love. That's not a criticism. I think we all have good days and bad days, like I do too, right? And sometimes I'm looking in the mirror going, okay, here's another version of black, Loretta. Maybe you have some other colors in there, right? It's like that. So anyway, let me jump into the show. I am Loretta Brown. I am the owner of Reiki Oasis, located right here in the greater Seattle area for almost 30 years. And you can find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. I am taking a sacred trip to Egypt in October. If you want to go on that trip with me, please send an email to ReikiOasis@gmail.com. I'll send you the itinerary. And we're about half full right now. So I do have room for people. It's a small group. It's very sacred. It's very special. This Saturday, I have my monthly class for women, the Temple of the Divine Feminine. We will be celebrating the spring equinox and lots of positive things like that. So you can join us via Zoom. You can join us in person. And welcome to the Cosmic New Year. Astrologically, this is the new year. Today, we're exploring the cosmic vibes of March 20th, 2025, and it is the equinox, a day when night and day are perfectly balanced. In the northern hemisphere, it's the start of spring, and in the southern hemisphere, it is the beginning of autumn. But in astrology, this is a big deal no matter where you're at, because it marks the beginning of the astrological year as the sun enters Aries at 0 degrees, the first sign of the zodiac. It is a complete reset, a refresh. So think of it as a fresh trip around the sun, a chance to hit reset, embrace new beginnings, and set intentions for the year ahead. Plus, it's said that the planet's energy grid moves into higher harmony on this day, making it easier to soak up Mother Nature's healing vibes and recharge our own energy centers. Good day to do some meditation, by the way. This equinox isn't just any equinox. It's landing right in the middle of the eclipse portal, a powerful time between two eclipses when the veil between the physical and the spiritual worlds gets super thin. We're coming off a Virgo blood moon eclipse on March 14th and heading into an Aries solar eclipse on March 29th. Eclipses shake things up, pushing us to shift our consciousness and embrace change. And with the equinox smack in the middle, we're right in the middle, it's a cosmic reminder to find our balance amid the winds of transformation. Are you feeling a little unsettled? That's normal. Take a deep breath, step outside, let nature's energy ground you, and maybe even take a look at the book of my guest today. We'll bring him in a minute. And adding to the mix, we've got Mercury and Venus. Mercury and Venus are both in retrograde during this equinox. Retrogrades are about slowing down, looking backwards, finishing things up. Mercury retrograde might mess with your text messages. It might bring up old memories. And while Venus retrograde stirs the pot in relationships and money matters, activating some serious heart healing energy, this is your invitation to sift through the past, not to dwell, but to find wisdom. What patterns in your love life or habits are ready to be released so you can step into deeper connection and growth? Use this reflective vibe to guide your new astrological year. And then there's Neptune, the planet of dreams and intuition, dreamy Neptune. It's wrapping up its time in Pisces and gearing up to enter Aries on March 30. So water to fire. Since 2011, Neptune in Pisces has been expanding our spiritual side and our imagination as it prepares to shift into bold, fiery Aries, we might feel a spark to chase our dreams with more guts, more courage, more initiative. It is time to dream with courage. And with that Aries energy, it's time to act upon those dreams. I know some of you have been out there dreaming about this and dreaming about that, and you're going to begin to have the energy to actually get something done, which is going to be a relief for many people. So take a moment under this equinox energy to think, to contemplate, to meditate. How have your hopes and goals evolved over the past decade? Do you have the same hopes and goals that you did 10 years ago? Are they shifting? This transition is setting the stage for a brand new chapter in how we manifest our deepest wishes and how we be in the world of today. So how do you make the most of this spiritually charged equinox? Get outside, get into nature's healing power, whether it's a hike or just breathing fresh air or putting those flowers on the porch. Yes, let's do it. Let the planet's harmony reset your energy. Clear out clutter. This is a great time for spring cleaning of your mind and your spaces. Clean them up. Dust, vacuum, sage. Open up all the doors and windows. That's what my mom used to do. And exhale, let go of everything that's weighing you down. Maybe you just have too much stuff. And then set intentions. It's always good to write down your goals, visualize them, take a tiny step toward them. Sometimes even just pausing for a moment and letting yourself go, where do I want to be 1 year from now? What is the tone of this year that I would like to bring in? Is just enough to begin to shift something. And then tap into your intuition. The universe is listening extra closely to us right now. Our inner guidance is coming more and more online, more and more. As we enter into the age of Aquarius, we're entering it into a time of intuition, of telepathy, of connectedness. And people are longing for communities. They're longing for this sort of thing. So today is a spiritual powerhouse of information and knowledge, a time to release old patterns, welcome fresh inspiration, and align with the magic of Mother Earth and all that is. Move with intention, not haste, and let the energy guide you into a year of growth and transformation. I can't think of a better day to have my guest on the show because he's going to bring you fresh inspiration and good ideas. Today we're joined by Billy Wynne, a remarkable voice in the journey toward fulfillment through less. As the author of The Empty Path, Finding Fulfillment Through the Radical Art of Lessening, Billy brings 30 years of Buddhist and mindfulness practice to challenge our culture's obsession with more. Certified by meditation luminaries Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, and ordained as a lay Zen Buddhist at the Zen Center of Denver, he offers a fresh perspective on how emptiness can lead to wholeness. A health entrepreneur and founder of Awake, one of America's first alcohol-free bars, Billy's life weaves together spirituality, sobriety, and service. And so join us as we welcome Billy to the show. Welcome, Billy.
Hi, thank you so much for being with me.
It's
Even though
really
it's
great.
spring, I'm a little chilly in here, so I put my hat on.
Loretta
Great
will
to be
warm you
with
up
you.
just right.
That's
We'll
right.
just, yeah, we'll just
see.
bring in the warm heavenly breezes or something like that. Anyway, yeah. So you have a beautiful book, The Empty Path, and The Empty Path centers on Buddhist concepts of emptiness. Yeah.
Yeah.
What drew you to this study of emptiness? How has it shaped your understanding of happiness? What is emptiness, Billy?
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for that question. And it's really, obviously a key reason why I wrote the book. And so one way that it came up for me is as a student of Buddhism for so long and having read dozens and dozens of books about Buddhism, whether kind of in the traditional sense or also kind of more, for popular audiences. One thing that I noticed is that a lot of these books focus on, very attractive aspects of Buddhism that's also available in a lot of other faith traditions: love, compassion, kindness, joy, etc. But I felt that a core Buddhist principle, this concept of emptiness, is often missing. And I think it's not a huge surprise, because on its face, it sounds like, meaninglessness or nihilism, or, it's not a particularly attractive word. And some of that is a translation issue. But really, for me, it's what really unlocks all of these beautiful things that come out of the Buddhist tradition. And so to get a little more intimate of an understanding with emptiness, I think, can really lead us to this path of joy and happiness. And so just to briefly give your audience a little introduction to it, and as I do in the book, I sort of break it out into a couple of different lenses for getting more familiar with this core concept, because really just to define it like you might in a dictionary really is not going to do the trick. We have to kind of figure out different ways to relate to this principle. And so one of the ways we can relate is impermanence, which is also another Buddhist concept, but something that I think we can readily relate to. So impermanence reminds us that all things, living things and non-living things, sort of come into being and then at some point no longer are, right? So they have this chair, hasn't always been here, and someday it will not be here anymore. So too with living things, they're born, they live out the course of their life, and then they die. So that's one element of impermanence. Also, impermanence speaks to the fact that everything is always changing in every moment, not just from sort of birth to death, but moment to moment. If you think about our own bodies, the cells are swirling, our mindset is changing, our relationships are changing, our experience, and all these things are always in a constant state of flux. So we can think of those also as being born anew in each moment, is another element of impermanence. It's starting to give us a view into this core concept of emptiness. And then the other aspect that I outline in the book, that what Buddhists call no self, which is if you take a close look at something, let's say, again, this chair is a nice, handy example. It has legs, it has a seat, it has a backrest, right? It has some fabric, it has some metal, it has some wood, that type of thing. It's all these different pieces of the chair make it a chair, but which piece gives it its chairness? What's the core kind of, identity of this chair? And if you look and you think about it, it's hard to identify. If you took the seat away, well, they'd say, well, that's a chair without a seat. Okay, so, or if you took the legs away, you'd say, well, that's a chair that doesn't have any legs. It's kind of sitting on the floor of the chair. So with a chair, as with anything else, it's very difficult to identify the kind of core source of identity, or the self, we might say, that makes it what we always sort of reflexively consider it to be. And so if we can begin to unpack that, really what's happening is we're softening our attachment to our idea of this thing as some sort of fixed object that we think we fully understand, because we can take not just the fabric and the metal and so forth, but take that out to the mines where the minerals came from, the manufacturing plant where it was put together, the people who shipped it from where it was made to my house, and so on and so forth. All of those things are also a part of the chair being here right now. And so that can help us remember that there's more going on to this experience of me sitting on this thing than just that's like, oh, it's just a chair, right? There's really a lot more to take a look at. And there's it at its heart of hearts and soul of souls, there is no chair. There is no selfhood in this chair. And that can help us be with it and all things, including you and me. And we'll get to that more lightly, more joyfully, right? With a little less attachment, a little less heaviness, as we, go into the moments of our lives.
I really love your explanation, and I'm thinking, I have a tendency to be kind of practical at some level, like a woo-woo practical girl,
Good,
and
cool.
I'm thinking to myself, so if I really get into this idea of impermanence or no self, right?
Yeah.
How does that really, I'm going to use the word help, but how does that help me, like in my everyday world, like if I'm working too much or I'm getting too wrapped up in, what's happening out there, or, how does that really help me?
Yeah, sure. So one symptom of the kind of traditional way of thinking of things, which is me and chair and self and other, and is the idea that we need more in order to be satisfied, fulfilled, and happy, right? So the other side of that coin is we are not enough, right? We are lacking, we are imperfect and flawed, and so we have to accomplish all these things and go get all these things in order to be, satisfied and fulfilled and happy in our lives. When actually that mindset and that effort to ceaselessly fulfill ourselves is the reason we suffer. It's not the solution, it's the cause of our suffering. So really what it takes is a reversal of that mindset. It doesn't mean we quit our job or abandon our families, or that I'm going to like fall through this chair onto the floor. Like all of those aspects of our lives continue to arise for us. But when we can change our mindset from this separation, this self and other, these things that are around me that are either threatening or beneficial, I'm constantly in a state of judging these things and chasing after them or running away from them. If we can change to a place that says, you know what, I'm actually empty, and so is that. There's actually nothing in heart of heart separating us, therefore. There's no boundary between me and these other things because there is no inherent selfhood. Then I'm no longer, threatened or chasing after these different things. I'm unified with them. And so, again, they're still there. There's still challenges arising, sadness, and the events of our life still arise. But when we can change that relationship with them, it's totally different, right? So I still go to work. I still have a job to do, right? But I'm not looking at it from this kind of fearful place of lacking and insecurity that says, I've got to have this particular outcome or else I'm not going to be happy, right? A different way is I'm already happy. I'm already fulfilled. I have certain needs. My family has certain needs. And so I'm going to go do this thing, and because, to support us. But that's not what's going to make me happy. That's not what makes me a good person. That's not what brings me satisfaction. And so I contend, and I believe I have found in my own life that mindset, we're actually much more successful in getting these things that we, aspire to with that mindset than this mindset of craving and chasing and must do in order to be happy kind of thinking.
Yeah, and I can hear my listeners going, so how do I get to that place?
Yeah.
How do I get to that place, right? Like to where when I get up in the morning, I'm not like grinding my teeth and chewing my fingernails, and instead I'm like, I am happy, right? I am happy.
Yes. Well, one mechanism is meditation. So there's really 3 planks of my book. One is Buddhist teaching relating to emptiness. Yes, thank you. There it is. Here it is. It's available.
Yes.
It's
The empty
online.
path.
Stores near
Get it
you.
right
The empty
now.
path.
Just get it right now. Anyway,
That's
keep
right.
talking.
Go get it.
Go get it.
Another, so one is Buddhist teaching around emptiness that we've begun to explore. Another is my own autobiography. Each chapter has an anecdote from my life to help really ground these teachings, so to show, like you say, you're a practical, woo-woo or whatever, elegant phrase you had. I'm the same. It's like this doesn't count if it doesn't affect our real lives here and now. Like, who cares if it doesn't actually apply to my life? So I show how it applied to my life and hope that readers can connect to the practicality of this. And then the third plank of the book is mindfulness and meditation practices. So each of the 10 chapters has a guided meditation at the end. There's also recordings of these meditations on my website at billywynne.com. So, it's a little funky to be reading while you're trying to meditate. So you can put on your headphones and listen to me guide you through the meditation. And one reason that meditation is such a helpful tool for getting to this place of kind of ease and satisfaction is it does help us lessen. Right. If we're meditating for 5 minutes, and we can talk more about, techniques and so forth, but, for just a few minutes, we can give ourselves permission to put down the 10,000 things that are constantly bouncing around our mind, and that we're in our natural, kind of trained state of reaching for them and clinging to them and analyzing them and wondering about them and worrying about them. It's like, okay, I'm going to take 3 minutes and I'm just going to put that down. It'll be there when I come back, but I'm going to practice, letting it rest. And so what that does, just like any other activity, like, going for a jog or lifting weights or studying a new topic or, training in a new field for work, we get a little better and better. It gets a little easier. The spaciousness that we're cultivating there starts to grow, and it bleeds out into the other aspects of our lives, right? So that 3 minutes, 5 minutes, then it's 10 minutes, and now it's the more we train in it, the more it's going to reach into our relationships and our time at work. And there are also tools and tricks for sort of bringing it back, like if we notice we're getting frustrated or angry, or we're about to fire off an angry email, or there's also more conscious ways to recall, our intentions there. But at the same time, we're just gradually changing how we are in our life, and that helps us throughout the day and all these different activities.
I love what you said about space, creating space. Like I think sometimes, like I have this practice where I take a certain type of breathing, and then I enter into what I call as infinite space. And for me, it's this idea of being able to move everything back, right? Or create that space. And while you were talking, a lot of my clients are like, I'm like, listen, if that old saying, if you're too busy to meditate, you need to meditate, like,
yes.
right. Like 1 minute or an hour or whatever. And they're like, I can't, my brain can't even do it for like 5 seconds, Loretta, you're crazy. Right.
Yes. It's amazing how we convince ourselves, right? I guarantee you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you have going on, you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes in your day to set aside for your own good, right? That's the thing. It's actually doing yourself a favor. And my hope is, and this is what was helpful for me when I really started getting into meditation 10, 12 years ago, was that in early on, even though my mind was going bananas, and I'll come back to this maybe, but one thing you discover is that meditation is nothing like the cover of the magazine you see at the grocery store checkout counter, right? You're not sitting on a hilltop with the perfect Lululemon outfit with the sunset and the music's playing. Like, that's not. I'm in my closet. It's dark. I'm tired. That's what meditation actually. And my mind is bouncing around. And so, but when I was getting started, and I think that hopefully for most people, when they get started, after a couple of sessions of meditation, even just for a second, you'll notice a sense of calm that is new, and that you feel like you wouldn't have had if you hadn't taken that time for dedicated practice. And your body is gonna know that that's a good thing, right? And there's science, and then we can talk about all those many good things that are documented. But you'll get a feel that there's some promise here, even as your mind is, the other 95% of the time bouncing around, which is what the mind does. And so you get a little taste, and that can help us keep going.
Yeah. I had a teacher one time, you've probably heard this. He's like, Loretta, your mind is like a wild horse, just racing around.
Yes. 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 How to Tame a Wild Elephant is a great book. Anyway, it's a great title, because that's our mind.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And the idea that you do have 5 minutes, you really do. But I think the trick is, or maybe the mastery is learning how, like you said earlier, to put it down, or just set it down it's okay. Just put it down for a moment and go and do this, and then come back. Right?
It's giving yourself permission. And I think that one thing that's maybe helpful for people to know is, like, it's not undermining all these other things that you need to do, right? You're like, I got to go do my parenting. I got to go do my working. I got to go do my exercising. It's like that 5-minute pause will make all of those things better, right? It's not a a zero-sum game where you're taking away from these other things you want to do well in your life. If you spend 5 minutes meditating, you are benefiting all of these other areas of your life that you care about as well.
Yeah. My experience is, it always astonishes me, even after all these years, that, like, when I have so many things to do and I start to get squirrely, right? And I'm like, okay, you just stop, Loretta, just stop, go do this for 5 minutes. And then when I come back, everything just falls into line, and it just all works, and everything gets done quickly. And even to this day, it still astonishes me how that works. And it works every single time.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool. It's funny. I had a book event last night. I have to share. My son was there. He's 14. He's very into sports, and it was very sweet. It was at a bookstore. He asked a question, and it was, he said, like, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, started naming all these athletes who are known to meditate, and he's like, could you comment on it? I'm like, well, the reason they do it is because it works. You know, I mean, they're not doing it for any other reason. Like they know, these top of their game athletes, and so that's hopefully some source for inspiration, encouragement for people too. And I'll just add, if I might. So John Kabat-Zinn, who created mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is kind of a secularized mindfulness meditation practice, and really rigorously subjected to clinical study, and he's not the only one, but he's a very important one. One thing that he found was that he proved you don't need to be good at meditation in order to reap the benefits of the practice. You can be a beginner, you can be somebody who sits down and your mind is going bananas. It's like my high school football coach said, 90% of it is just showing up, right? It's true. Yeah. If you just show up and engage with the practice, again, it can be as little as a few minutes. Hopefully we get to a little bit longer so it really starts to sink in. But at the beginning, that is very, very helpful. These cognitive benefits, the mental health benefits, the clarity, the focus, all these things that are truly documented in a biological way can start to work their way into you if you engage with the practice.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to take a little station break. And my guest today, Billy Wynne, author of The Empty Path, Finding Fulfillment Through the Radical Art of Lessening. And go get the book during the break and come back, because I've got more questions for Billy, and he's got more excellent wisdom to share with us. I know. This is Loretta Brown. We'll be right back.
Okay, all clear.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible, but when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
Energy is powerful. It's all around us, mysterious, full of potential. Directing positive, healing energy to raise your vibrational rate through Reiki can change your life. Reiki master Loretta Brown has relieved stress, sadness, anger, and even helped clients lose weight, stop smoking, and end sleep disorders. Worldwide, people have sought out Reiki Oasis. If you want help with your dis-ease, visit ReikiOasis.com. Harness life's energy. Visit ReikiOasis.com today.
It's time that you are heard, and I don't mean in just a conversation. I mean really heard. Imagine hosting your very own radio program on Alternative Talk 1150. Talk about being heard. Call 425-653-1150 right now to learn how affordable it can be to host your own radio show. Time slots are going fast, so take hold of this chance by dialing 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk. We have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Alternative Talk 1150. It's good for what ails you. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
You guys ready to come back? All right, hang tight. Got to bring you back.
Yeah, got to do what you can. Welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show with my remarkable guest, Billy Wynne, author of The Empty Path. And just a reminder that you can find out more about me, Loretta Brown, at ReikiOasis.com. And also, these shows are archived. They're downloaded for free on the KKNW 1150 AM archives for the original Loretta Brown Show. And of course, we're on iTunes, Spotify, X, Megaphone, YouTube. I always leave somebody out. You get the idea. The shows are out there. Please go and find them, download them for free, listen to them over and over again. And also go find Billy Wynne at his website, which is
BillyWynne.com.
Well, amazing. Isn't it great when you use your name? Yeah, I
Yes.
know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Billy Wynne took it yet.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but no, you're the original Billy Wynne,
there you
and I'm
go.
the original Loretta Brown. That's how that works.
Perfect.
It's really,
That's
really
awesome.
great. I love how that works. I got a question for you because your book is fulfilling, let's see, finding fulfillment through the radical art of lessening. And you call lessening an art in your book. What is lessening and what sets it apart from trends like minimalism?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
lessening is about changing our relationship with the experience of our lives, right? So another way to think about it is softening our attachments to these, especially these ideas we have, these preconceptions and these, kind of self-imposed limits that we've come to trust as kind of the reality of our lives. When actually, if we take a pause and take a closer look and start to lean into some of these ideas around emptiness and some of these practices around mindfulness, things are maybe actually quite different than we've assumed them to be. And so lessening is really about distilling our experience of things. It doesn't necessarily, like I said before, it doesn't mean quitting our job. It doesn't mean we can't do a lot of the things that we care about. It might mean that we slow the pace a bit, that it might translate to that, but people have to decide for themselves, of course, how this is going to be manifested in their lives. So it's really about a mindset shift that takes a calm, peaceful, and inherently fulfilled look at the key aspects of our lives, our relationships, our work, our play, our parenting, whatever kind of the core activities of our life may be. And so when we're with those things, we can be present, we can be patient, we can be calm, we can be joyful, we can be grateful. These are the hallmarks of lessening, right? Rather than the mindset that says, I got to do more of this. I'm worried it's going to, go wrong. I'm not doing it well enough. This person that I'm doing with is not doing the right thing that I want them to be doing. All these different sort of expectations and preconceptions, and thus disappointment and dissatisfaction that we infuse into these experiences are all unnecessary, right? And they get in the way of our enjoyment of the thing that we're doing. So that's what lessening is. It's not about not doing it necessarily, but it's about putting aside all the mooring, all the attachment, all of the layers of expectation and ideas we have about it that just get in the way of our direct personal experience of our lives.
I'm thinking when you're talking, there's a lot of people that are like, well, yeah, but I'm very ambitious, right? I want to accomplish this and this and this and this and this. And so
Yeah.
Isn't that contrary to my ambition?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So I wrote a book. I mean, I'm ambitious too. So I relate to those people. And I think there's, as with everything else, so I'm not saying ambition is bad per se, and success is not bad per se or anything like that. There's not, and I think it is easy to, kind of misunderstand these teachings as like, I'm not supposed to be successful, or I'm not supposed to have material comfort, or, so no. It's about changing our mindset about those things. And so again, how do we think about our ambition? How do we think about our success? It's like, okay, well, I'm inspired to start a company, or I'm ambitious to lead this community, or whatever it might be, some big goal that we dream about for ourselves. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to go about it? Am I going to go about it with a mindset that says I have to have that in order to be happy and fulfilled, right? And anything or anybody that gets in my way is like my competitor, my enemy, right? They're causing the problems that I have to overcome them. I have to defeat them. I have to, So that's one way to go about it, and that's pretty much the more normal, typical way that we tend to go about our ambitions, right? And so, both, I would say that with that mindset, we are actually less likely to achieve this thing that we were ambitious for, but also we're going to be deeply unhappy throughout the whole process, right? If that's our mindset, we're going to be unsatisfied, unfulfilled, even when we get there, right? And you talk to like Olympic champion, you talk to people who have been to the mountaintop. If they had that attitude of like, oh, this is the one thing that's going to make me happy, it doesn't, right? So happiness actually comes from this deep inner knowing that we don't actually need those things in order to be happy. We don't need them to be good people. We don't need them to be satisfied. We may still pursue them, but if we do it with that mindset, first of all, again, I think we're more likely to actually accomplish them. And second, more importantly, we'll be happy and fulfilled the whole way, right? And then we get there and we're like, good, I'm happy now. I was happy then. Great, I've helped this community. I've started this great company. I've got a new car. Well, yeah, whatever it is, I'm not judging any of it. It's like, but the best part is that whether or not we get to that particular goal that we set out, we actually feel like we've enjoyed our lives.
I was thinking when you were talking about, the Odyssey and the Iliad, we used to have to read that in school. I don't know if they still do that kind of thing, but there was something in there about it isn't the destination, it's the journey,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Because
Absolutely.
if you get to Ithaca, the trip is over,
That's
and
right.
then what,
That's right.
right?
That's
The
right.
Odyssey
That's
is
right.
over, right?
That's right.
So yeah, we always want to be doing that. So it kind of goes along with that in an interesting way.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I love this idea. I'm kind of sitting with it. You've got some wonderful chapters in your book. You've got being the love you are,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you explore love through the lens of lessening.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
has this perspective changed your relationships, like maybe with your wife and children,
Oh
or
yeah.
yeah,
Big in a big way. And so in that chapter, what I talk about is my relationship with my wife. So my autobiographical components of the book are very personal and intended to be vulnerable and
yeah, they are.
not leave anything out in terms of the ups and downs of this path. And so the chapter about love describes a situation with my wife about 8 years ago where we were sitting at a restaurant in France and thought we were going to get divorced. So we were deeply unhappy in our relationship and we were blaming each other for our unhappiness and problems, right? And so the key shift that I talk about in that chapter around love is that well, I'll use the metaphor that actually the minister who married us, Unitarian minister in Charlottesville, Virginia, who married my wife and I, gave during our wedding ceremony, which is that we tend to think of love as a knot, right, where we're clasped together. And so the challenge with that is that it's rigid, it's confining, right? It involves a lot of expectations about what our marriage should be like and what the other person should be like in response. And he said, well, maybe a better way of thinking about it is like this, where we are connected and we are close, but we are free to move, right? As we choose in that relationship. We're free to dance, we're free to be ourselves. And we relax our expectations and demands of how that other person is going to be. That's a truer form of love. So we had completely forgotten that, obviously, as we're sitting there in that restaurant in France and at the bottom of our relationship. And so then luckily we were able to repair that. And ever since then, I've been like, okay, my contribution to this marriage is my responsibility, right? And that's what I can control. That's what I'm in charge of. How do I come forth in this relationship? And the rest, of how she acts and what she says and what she thinks and what she believes, that's her responsibility. Luckily, we agree about this principle now in our marriage. So it could be a powerful tool. And I use the term codependence, which is a kind of a clinical term. And so some people are like, well, I'm not codependent. That's terrible. But actually, I argue that all of our relationships to some degree or another have codependence. If you think about it as that person is to some degree responsible for my mental state and my happiness and my well-being. And likewise, I'm somehow responsible for that person's mental state and well-being and happiness. That's codependence. That is ceding responsibility for how we are to other people, which I argue we all do to some degree all the time. But recognizing that and starting to pull back from that nature of relationship to say, no, actually, I decide how I react. People can do whatever they're going to do. How I react to it, how I respond to it is my responsibility. And so I choose to come forth with love and trust and honor and respect, right? And I cannot control how they, what they do in return, but that's my share of love. And in this relationship, that's what, my contribution. And so that's actually been a much, some people, I think, that can feel a little bit scary. You're unlocking that knot, right? And so it feels a little bit like, ooh, are they going to be there tomorrow? But
Yeah.
again, it's been miraculous for our marriage. Now we have ups and downs, we have arguments. It's a marriage, right? So, but it doesn't sound like, I once was lost and now I'm found and all my problems went away.
Yeah.
But this approach that we have has saved our marriage and brought us
Yeah.
much closer, even though it's a bit freer, than how we thought of it before.
Yeah, yeah. I just found that to be so insightful, and to the point I wanted to bring it out in the show, and also to kind of tease people a little bit that your book is really well written and it is vulnerable. Your stories in there are very much to the point, and kind of like what we said earlier, if it doesn't apply to our life, what good is it, right? We got to bring it down into the heart and into the home of the whole thing. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm very much that way. You started America's first alcohol-free bar. Could you
Yes.
please talk about that?
Sure. So, about 8-9 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol. My wife actually stopped about a month before me. That's also been very helpful for both of us, but that's kind of another story. But so we did that at a time where we were really seeing this real revolution in the non-alcoholic product market and the
Right.
community that was growing up around that. And we were very excited about that. And actually that did make it for us, or I'll speak for myself, for me, a lot easier to quit, because it felt like this new exciting thing was going on. These people were stopping drinking, not just out of necessity, although I think for me, I would say it was necessary, but I didn't think about it that way at the time. It was a choice, and it continues to be a choice every day to not drink. I haven't drank since. But that culture of not drinking really supported us and was exciting for us and helped me make that choice. So we wanted to be a part of it. We wanted, to contribute to it. So we got back to Denver and had the idea of starting an alcohol-free bar. We opened it in fall of 2020, and COVID restrictions were lifted in spring of 21. So the full kind of bar experience came to life, and it was very, very successful at first. We were kind of the cat's meow of the Denver media, and which I'm very grateful for. And people were not just people who don't drink, but I think a lot of people out there thought this was kind of an interesting and cool kind of thing, and they came to see us. And actually, so that whole experience was a big motivation for this book, because what happened was, as soon as I saw that there was some success, literally after like a month of being busy, I said, okay, we're going to franchise this. And I'm going to create, a handbook, and I'm going to hire a law firm to register us in 30 different states as a franchisor, and more, right? It wasn't enough for me to quit drinking alcohol. It wasn't enough for me to start an alcohol-free bar. I was like going to build this empire, of alcohol-free bars. And that's the path of more. I mean, I was right there in it. And so you talk about that's ambition, right? But not necessarily the healthiest version. So then, a couple things happened. One was the boom of attention and excitement started to fade, as it often does with businesses, right? There's the honeymoon phase, and then it's like, okay, we got to actually crank this out month to month, and then also I had no experience actually in running a bar restaurant, so that inexperience started to be evident, and things weren't operating like they should have been. I wasn't there as much as I should. All these types of things. So, but the main thing that happened and relevant to the book is that I realized that in that process, and anybody who has any experience in the bar restaurant business can probably relate to this, is I was as stressed as I'd ever been in my life, and I was unhappy, and I was, I had driven myself to kind of a precipice. And I also had, by the way, like my day job and my family, and I was just busy and stressed and waking up, like you mentioned, every morning fearful of the day to come. Really just like, I know there's a mountain of things I have to do today that I'm not going to finish, and that type of life. And so in August of 2022, I talk about the experience in this book where I was driving home from the bar, and it was 11:30, and I was stressed, and I had my knee on the wheel and my hand on the phone, and I'm like responding to a bad Google review or something like that. And this thought pops into my head, like, I could die right now and maybe that would be okay. And that thought, which I had a little bit of depression in college, which I luckily got treatment for. I had not experienced any kind of suicidality. I'm grateful to say, but so the fact that thought popped in my head really scared me. I was like, I am on the wrong path here, and I need to make a change. Like, this is going in the wrong direction fast. So like a week later, we closed Awake, and immediately, literally the next day, I felt so much better. My body, my mind, my experience, I was just relaxed. I could sleep again. I was enjoying my relationships again. I was reconnecting with my family after this 2 years of just being all over the place. And so that was actually, a month or two after that is when I just decided to start writing the book, because I had finally gotten the message, even after all the mindfulness and the Zen training and everything, it took that breaking point to teach me that this path of more is a lie and it's a dead end. And I wanted to share that there's a totally different way of approaching our lives that will be much more satisfying and joyful. And that's kind of the kernel that became the book.
Wow. I think that is the absolutely the message for everybody listening, right? Because a lot of people that come to see me are really at what I call the breaking point. Like I feel like they're right up against the wall, and they're needing to take a look at their life. And I have had people say to me, I could die right now. It could be fine. I'm out of here. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real wake-up call. So when you let that go, when you said, okay, we're shutting it down, we're going to let it go, and you felt that sense of relief, right?
Yes.
It sounds to me like somehow you found your way back into the art of lessening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it kind of began with realizing that my ticket to happiness and fulfillment was not to have an alcohol-free bar empire, right? I mean, maybe for some people it is, or whatever, but for me it was not. And this is something I would connect with your viewers is like, trust your body, right? Trust what trust your life experience to tell you like whether or not you're on the right path. And it wasn't, an easy decision to close the bar, right? I mean, we had lots of eyes on us. We felt like we were responsible for our contribution to this alcohol-free movement that we were a part of, and that we were going to be letting people down, and that it was a confession of failure. And these are the thoughts that I also had. So my message is like, I think a lot of people in a similar situation, maybe in something that they're starting to suspect is not right for them, right, and is leading them down this path of kind of desperation. But there's these factors that we might believe force us to continue. And I would just encourage people to, take a careful look at that, because if your body is telling you that you're unhappy and unfulfilled, then chances are that thing is not the right thing for you. Maybe it's the right thing for somebody else, but you don't have to do it, right? You can take a different course and find another way to be fulfilled and make a positive contribution to the world or your community that is right for you, with this path.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an answer to this question, and you're almost 30 years of doing the emptiness practice, right? Is there anything that has come out of that 30 years that has kind of surprised you, something you didn't expect?
Oh gosh, where to begin? It's all
I know. I
surprising,
realize that's a big question.
Yeah.
In
Let's
1
see.
minute or less. Yeah.
Yes, right. So I'll just say, so where I really dove in earnest was when I started practicing Zen, which is about 10 years ago with the Zen Center of Denver. And I would say that's been a life-changing and very surprising experience. And one thing I'll just say, that this is maybe not the very best response to your question, is the first thing coming up for me is that what people, part of it is this idea of emptiness that is underexplored in a lot of the materials out there about Buddhism. But the popular perception, like with meditation, the popular perception of Buddhism, and in particular Zen, like, oh, that's so Zen, kind of thing,
right,
is very different from what it's actually like. And so the actual practice of Zen, which is really about lessening and distilling, the kind of austere aesthetic of Zen, the black and white, and the silence of Zen practice and so forth, is I think surprising for a lot. We don't just go and like flop around the floor and burn incense. And maybe that's people's thing, right? And I'm not. It sounds a little critical, but it's not. But that's not what Zen is. It's and so the focus, of that path, it was surprising to me at first, but has ultimately become very, very beneficial.
Wow, that's great. So we're at the end of our show, Billy, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And one last word, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I invite folks
know.
to come to billywynne.com. You can see about the book. You can see about my guided meditations. I do offer mindfulness courses from time to time in Denver, and other exciting things going on. So mainly just grateful to be on your show, Loretta, and for all the listeners, thank you so much for hopefully you glean a little bit that translates into your life and is beneficial for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy solstice, happy spring. And Benny Mathers, you are the best. And to everybody out there, lots of love. Stay safe in the middle of the eclipse season. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do it.